Alrighty, hopefully you can hear me now. So, I'm Messy, I'll be trying to give a little bit of commentary as this run goes on. Okay, give me a sec. Alright, is this any better? I don't know what's going on. Okay, I think I got it fixed. Hopefully you can hear me now. Alright, thanks. So, I'm Messy. I'm going to be giving a little bit of commentary throughout this run. These two runners are fairly evenly matched. Chasetopher has a little bit of a advantage here because he's better seated and has a better PB, but if either of these runners make major mistakes, it could spell the end of their run, so this will be an interesting match. So here you'll see both runners use a trick called rapid fire missiles. What they do is they hit C up and then you can mash Y as fast as you can, basically. So normally there's an animation. Holding C up actually completely skips this animation and allows them to fire pretty fast and kill Parasite Queen very quickly.
Evacuate immediately. Evacuate immediately. Evacuate immediately.
And it looks like both runners are opting for the inbounds route. A lot of better runners you'll see actually go to the right at biotech, and they will do a trick that allows them to reposition themselves out of bounds with certain inputs, which saves probably about, say, 50 seconds RTA. But it's also a very difficult trick to do because it's very easy to soft lock. So not too much to really talk about right here. Basically, the runners are just rolling around and jumping around. You'll see them use something called an L jump. So if you hold L while you're jumping for, I think it's 13 frames, that will actually make you go a little bit faster than just running around or even just holding L. But other than that, not a huge amount to talk about. Once they get to Talon Overworld, I will describe how Space Jump First works. ChasetopherLee escaping with a 4:22. It's actually a very reasonable time. So once the runners get to Talon Overworld, they do a trick called Space Jump First. It involves a scan dash. So how a scan dash works is you basically do a strafe, and in the middle of a strafe, you release L and release all of the buttons. So you've effectively maintained the speed that you had when you release L. So this allows you to get a lot of horizontal momentum, and it allows you to break the game pretty strongly by allowing you to get up to the upper platform when you're not intended to. MLSTRM also getting space jump boots early, and Chase heading over to Chozo Ruins. So now that Chase has space jump boots, he is able to grab a missile expansion before main missiles, which is effectively the same as grabbing missiles, but it's much quicker. And he will also be able to skip the beetle cutscene in the morph ball room and skip the fight. And there are also a few other breaks that the space jump boots allows. So just by getting that missile expansion, he is actually skipping a few minutes of the game by being able to skip Hive Mecha. And Chase with Morph Ball. So as you notice, he used a scan dash to go over the trigger for the fight, allowing him to get Morph Ball directly and because he has space jump, he can also jump over the wall right here instead of having to do the fight. Right here, you'll see Chase hit the map screen button and release it. What this does is it forces the door to open right here. Normally, the door will not open until all of the rooms are loaded, but by doing that, it will force the game to open the door, even though it has not finished that yet. So, retro. Chase getting Charge Beam here. Charge Beam is actually not required to complete the run. It's one of the items that you skip in low percent. However, it saves a lot of time. So you'll see all of the 80% runs get it. And you'll also see Chase shoot the missile door on the save station. This is actually a setup for a trick later called Infinite Speed. Oh, he's not going for it. He must have forgotten about it. He'll have to make sure that he gets that later, or he could have problems later when he goes to set up the a later trick. So we'll see how he handles that. So this boss that Chase is doing right now is pretty much completely RNG. This boss can vary by quite a lot. On the first cycle, he can vary when he pops up by, I believe, 5 seconds, something in there. And then on the last 3, he can vary by a little bit more than that. So you can lose like 30 seconds just due to RNG here, so this is kind of a frustration point for runners. We also like to call this Zoid because he was the one with the idea. Of course, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. I'll do my best to answer them. Chase is opting to do the puzzle, which means he will not have to do a trick called IBBFAF later. Normally, the room that he needs to get past, the door in this room, is locked until you do the puzzle. However, there's two ways to get by it. Either do the puzzle here, which loses a little bit of in-game time, more RTA, or he can also do a trick called IBBFAF, which involves getting out of bounds and gathering hall and wall crawling around it, but that's also more difficult, so probably a smart idea from him that he's not going to do IBBFAF. And let's hope that he remembers the door here. He did not shoot the door to the save station. Yes, here we go. He is shooting the door now, so he did remember. It looks like he's taking the safety save as well. This bomb jump right here that Chase is doing is relatively precise. You need to be careful that you get the maximum height or you won't be able to do this. Some runners also do a 3BJ, which involves burning a bomb and then laying, instead of 2 bombs, 3 bombs. And that can get you a little bit additional height for this trick, but it also wastes a little bit more time because you have to burn that bomb. This fight right here is, in the speedrun setting, is mostly just reduced to cutscenes. You'll see that he shoots the mirror first and then goes into the morph ball tunnel on the first round because for some reason you can't actually get them from out on the first round, but you can on all of the 3 next rounds. So on the first one he'll do that. On the second one, third one, and fourth one, he will actually be able to morph near the tunnel and lay a bomb, and it will count towards damaging Flagra because these are actually technically not morph ball slots, they're just damageable triggers, so that makes it a lot easier to do the fight. Looks like they are both doing the same route. I will assume that since neither of them did frigate skip and both of them did the puzzle, we're probably going to be doing exactly the same route, which means they will not be going out of bounds at all, and they will probably be doing Thardis. MLSTRM saying that he'll be doing floaty for a while. This is actually an alternate, somewhat slower strat, but it's a little bit safer. So instead of doing an IBJ, an infinite bomb jump, right after Chase gets Varia, MLSTRM will actually opt to do a secret world in Flagra's chamber, get floaty, and that will make hitting the trigger halfway down Sun Tower a lot easier. because he does not need to do the IBJ at all. He can just jump down and then jump back up. And we did see Chase safety save, and sometimes doing the IBJ for early wild can be weird, so I have seen a few runners actually fail that, and failing this trick can cost multiple minutes. If you opt to reset, usually it's about 5. If you go and get supers and get spider, then that can be much longer. However, I believe both runners are going to get spider ball anyway, so probably looking at about even for both, whether or not Chase decides to reset, which he probably would have. But he did manage to get it, so that's good. So he will not be losing any time here. MLSTRM getting the various suit right here, so he will be going over to one of the sides of the room, and he will jump on one of the mirrors and use that mirror to get out of bounds. So floaty basically requires 2 things in this game. He needs to be in a disappearing water box. So by bombing the last slot, he will actually be in water, and he will be moved out of water immediately, which will trigger the first, like we call it pre-floaty. And then the second thing is he needs to get out of bounds and then enter and exit a water box from out of bounds so that he has like an underwater value when he's not actually underwater. And then he'll get back in bounds and his physics will be changed to that which is underwater, except he's not underwater, so he'll be able to jump much higher than he normally would be able to. And that'll make it a lot easier for him to trigger the trigger in Sun Shower. And this trigger in Sun Tower changes the room from Flagra Beat to allow each runner to get wild early, which makes it so that they can skip both supers and spider ball. So you'll notice here that MLSTRM, once he jumps, can jump quite high, and that means that he has floaty, so he's trying to do ether jumps here, going in and out of the runes box. He has 3 frames to do a jump, an ether jump, once he gets back into the runes boundaries. So once he does that, he can gain a lot of height because he is floating, and then get back in bounds and do early wild. Chase now heading through Magmor, he will get Artifact of Nature. A lot of casual players think that you need supers here, but you actually don't. You just need 2 regular missiles in order to get through the center pillar right here. Other than that, Magmor really just functions as a bridge between Chozo and Phendrana, so it's not a whole lot to talk about here. I will briefly mention that in the next room there is an optional E-Tank. Runners going for good times will generally not get this E-Tank. However, since this is a race, it's much safer to get that E-Tank because otherwise he will be having to do energy management potentially and lose more time because he does not have that E-Tank. Especially once he gets to the second infinite speed glitch, not the first one that's coming up in Frendrana, but the one in Shozo. A lot of runners like to call it slow beat because you'll get the energy low indicator, and there's a lot of lag in that section, so we like to call it slow beat there. But since he's getting the race tank, we'll probably not see that. Jay's now going for boost ball, so there are certain moves that are faster than other moves in this game. In general, scan dashing is going to be your primary fastest method of movement. When you can't scan dash, boost ball is your second fastest, and then regular morph ball, and then L jumping in that preferred order is your options for movement in this game. So you'll see runners use all of the above, depending on what movement they can do in a certain room. So here you'll see some runners actually get out of bounds and get wave and sun at the first, or wave beam and artifact of sun at the same time by doing an infinite speed. However, I believe that both runners are probably not going to do this and opt to fight Sheegoth. So this will cost them like 20, 30 seconds in game time, probably the same or a little bit more RTA. However, again, it's also a lot safer. So instead of doing the infinite speed in this room that Chase is in right now, what he will do is an alternate infinite speed. Once he beats Sheegoth, he will go into one of the corners of the room and start infinite speed, and that will allow him to obtain Artifact of Sun early. So that is really your alternate safer strat here.